While everybody is looking the other way, Bill Gates is working feverishly behind the scenes to kill off smartphones and replace them with a new technology, electronic tattoos embedded under your skin. According to Gates, life as you know it will soon be impossible without one. Digital IDs fused with your body, a modern mark of the beast, controlling access to everything, work, travel and money. We've been warning about the elites' beast system for years, and now it's coming to life. The question is, will you resist or be forced to comply? At TPV, together with you, our audience, we've been sounding the alarm for years. We've stood shoulder to shoulder, exposing Bill Gates' relentless drive to force digital IDs under our skin. They mocked us, tried to silence us, but we never backed down. We've taken the brickbats, endured the ridicule, faced the blowback, for daring to expose a conspiracy hiding in plain sight. But now, finally, the masses are starting to wake up.
Did you know that Bill Gates recently said that if you don't have the digital ID by 2028, you will be isolated from society? That's... What? What?
For over a decade, smartphones have been our constant companion, our link to email, social media, maps, banking, and everything. They've shaped how we live, work, and interact. But according to Bill Gates, that era is about to end, and not by accident. Gates is determined to kill off the smartphone and replace it with something far more invasive, electronic tattoos, technology designed to merge with your body. Developed by Chaotic Moon and later snapped up by Accenture, these tattoos promise instant communication, internet access, and health monitoring without a single screen. But here is where it gets dark. They're not in your pocket, they're under your skin, a permanent addition to your body's ecosystem. Always on, always connected, always watching. The elites are selling it as sleek, subtle, and more convenient and intuitive than anything we've seen before. Tiny nanocapacitors power the system. No bulky batteries, no visible device. Just an invisible tether fusing your body to the grid. Once this tech becomes your digital ID, there will be no logging out, no turning it off, and no opting out. This isn't convenience, this is control. The next phase of the beast system is already here. And make no mistake, Gates is about to make his move. The question isn't if it will happen, it's whether you'll be ready to resist when it does. Regina E. Dugan, the first female director of DARPA, the shadowy military agency RFK exposed for spraying chemtrails on America, and a long list of other crimes, has already declared victory. She boasts that we'll be queuing up to be branded with electronic tattoos, not because we desire them, but because without them, we'll be locked out of society itself.
Well, a researcher at the University of Illinois, his name is Dr. Rogers, what he discovered is that he could use standard CMOS techniques to make islands of high-performance silicon connected by accordion-like structures that would allow it to stretch up to 200% and still be performing. And what he did is he founded a company and they started making electronic tattoos. So I'm wearing one here on my arm.
Do we have a camera to get a...
This is a developmental system made by MC10, and it has an antenna and some sensors embedded in it. And what we plan to do is work with them to advance a tattoo that could be used for authentication.
And the most chilling part? The creators of this beast system openly admit they're targeting children, conditioning the next generation to accept a future where control is embedded under their skin from day one.
Now, it may be true that 10 to 20-year-olds don't want to wear a watch on their wrist, but you can be sure that they'll be far more interested in wearing an electronic tattoo, if only to piss off their parents. Right?
And that can have a design, right? Because
Sure.
they would certainly want some kind of cool design.
Options,
right?
options. And that's something that you wear, but you could also imagine including authentication in just your daily habits. So I take a vitamin every morning. What if I could take vitamin authentication?
What?
Vitamin authentication. Look, I have one right here. Well, here, I'll let you hold it. Would you like to hold it?
I'll hold it.
Okay. So this,
You guys see it?
this pill has a small chip inside of it with a switch. It also has what amounts to an inside-out potato battery. When
Really
you
small.
swallow it, the acids in your stomach serve as the electrolyte,
That's what I do.
and they power it up, and the switch goes on and off. And it creates an 18-bit ECG-like signal in your body, and essentially your entire body becomes your authentication token. Yes, this is true.
This isn't progress, it's the beast system made flesh. A digital brand, a modern mark of the beast, reducing every man, woman and child to tag property on a global grid of control. And without that mark, you won't be able to authenticate yourself. No proof of identity, no access to work, to money, to travel, to life itself.
So it's really true. So what this means is that becomes my first superpower. I really want this superpower. It means that my arms are like wires, my hands are like alligator clips. When I touch my phone, my computer, my door, my car, I'm authenticated in. First superpower. Like, I want that.
So we're not shipping that right away.
Yeah, no. We're not shipping that right away. But it sounds like...
This is FDA cleared?
So here's the thing. This is not science fiction. This pill was actually made by a company called Proteus, and they've developed it for medical applications. That pill has been CE stamped and cleared by the FDA. You can take 30 of those per day for the rest of your life.
And that's the plan, folks. Gates' pet scientists and DARPA's shadowy spooks are rolling out tech that's already sliding through FDA approval. Devices you'll brand into your skin, and pills you'll be swallowing every single day for the rest of your life. Not by choice, but by coercion. Because without them, you won't be authenticated. Comply or be cut off. Stay tuned, because next, I'll lay out the receipts, the patents, the policies, the proof that this nightmare isn't coming someday, it's already here. Here's where it gets truly sinister. Let's talk about a little known filing. US Patent 060606. Yes, 666, the number of the beast. The patent describes a so-called cryptocurrency system using body activity data. And guess whose name is all over it? Bill Gates. This patent describes a future where your very movements, your biological signals, and even your brainwaves are mined and monetized. In other words, your body becomes the battery. Now, link that to electronic tattoos and ingestible tech already sliding through the FDA, and you start to see the picture. The mark of the beast isn't science fiction, it's being patented, codified, and quietly prepared for rollout. And what happens when you decide to rebel against the system, to say no to the digital brand, to reject the beast system? Member of the European Parliament, Christine Anderson, has seen the plans.
I'm pretty sure with a flip of a switch, they can just turn it off, and you cease to exist. When your entire existence is based upon you having to authenticate yourself with some kind of a chip, and that chip gets turned off, then you no longer exist. And then what we actually would have is dead men walking in reality. You would be literally a dead man, yet you are not really dead, but you would be for everyone else. You wouldn't be able to buy anything. You wouldn't be able to open the front door of your own house. You wouldn't be able to do anything anymore. You're literally a dead man walking. Well, yeah, why don't we try that? Seriously? No, this is the ultimate tool to control every single human being. And you don't even have to be close to that human being, near that human being. You just, flip of a switch and boom, he's gone.
Anderson has sounded the alarm. If Gates is allowed to unleash this technology, and if the public blindly complies, then humanity will be dragged into a darkness from which they may never return. The nightmare of communist East Germany, the iron grip of the Soviet Union, these will look like child's play compared to what the globalists have planned. Once they seize total control, every movement, every thought, every breath will be monitored and managed. This isn't just surveillance, it's the end of human freedom as we know it.
That's exactly how they're getting these people to actually go ahead and do it. Oh, if it's cool, if it'll piss off my parents, yeah, let's have it. They make it sound fun. They make it sound joyful. It's not. This is actually, dehumanizing. It's the worst kind of totalitarianism you can actually imagine, given the technological means they have at their disposal already. Once we do slip in, and go fully totalitarian. I mean, we're no longer talking about just 40 years of Eastern Germany. We're not talking about 70 years Soviet Union. We will be talking about a very, very long time if we will be have a chance to ever get out of it ever again. That remains to be seen. So we need to fight this now, and we need to expose it now, because it has nothing to do with living as a human being, you would actually be, degraded to just like a functioning part in some kind of a malleable mass that the globalitarian misanthropists get to shuffle around any which way they desire.
The upcoming rollout is no longer a question of if, only when. The elites are already preparing a massive psychological operation to convince the masses it's time to ditch their so-called conveniences like smartphones and embrace the beast system, technology embedded under the skin. Those of you who resisted during the COVID era, who refused to cave to the globalist lies, survived the greatest mass deception psyop in history. You deserve an enormous amount of credit. As the late Nobel Prize winner Luc Montagnier warned, it may be people like you who ultimately saved humanity itself. But we can't rest on our laurels now, because a new assault is coming, and this one will be even harder to spot. So how do we prepare? How do we recognize the trap before it closes around us? To help answer that, here's Chase Hughes, our former US military behavior expert, with his tips on how to spot a psyop before it ensnares you.
The intelligent minorities can engineer consent through the use of manipulation, propaganda, and control, and we should do it.
People have got to know whether or not their president's a crook. Well, I'm not a crook.
We are in the midst of a serious financial crisis, and the federal government is responding with decisive action.
I know that the American people share my deep belief that if a danger exists in the world, it is a danger shared by all.
We need to actually double down on the public health measures.
You can't look at that television and say, nothing happened on the 6th.
We'd like for you to answer the question.
Okay, it's very simple to answer.
That's why I asked it.
It's very simple that you're a nasty person, I'll tell you.
Most people have no awareness of how easily our behavior and even our identity can be completely taken over. But people are waking up. I spent 20 years in the U.S. military. I'm a behavior expert. I've trained PsyOps. I'm the best-selling author in behavioral psychology. I want to show you exactly how to identify what we call engineered reality, or what some people call PsyOps. So the first thing you need to know is following the FATE model: focus, authority, tribe, and emotion. This is what triggers the mammalian part of our brain that makes all of our real decisions. The first part is focus. PsyOps always aim to hijack your attention with repetition, shocking visuals of fear-inducing scenarios. Some examples are like 24/7 media coverage of a crisis, or constant repetition of terms like unprecedented. So with this, pause and ask, why is this message being pushed so aggressively? So compare how much airtime different stories are receiving and note any disproportionate focus. The second part here is authority. Trusted figures might shift their tone or positions unnaturally to support the narrative. So watch very closely for expert panelists or endorsements where authority figures might speak outside of their expertise. Pay close attention to that one. Then we have tribe. So messages that polarize opinions or create stark in-groups versus out-groups, or exploit our tribal instincts. For example, labeling groups as patriots versus traitors, or scientific versus deniers. Be very careful when you hear that language. Finally, we have emotion. So be wary of any communication that triggers strong emotions like fear, hope, or outrage without any clear, verifiable evidence. So emotional responses suppress critical thinking. Emotional responses suppress critical thinking. So as a tip here, analyze the evidence that's presented to you. If facts are replaced by appeals to emotion, you need to be very cautious. As an example of this, think about like a news channel repeatedly showing images of empty grocery shelves and panicked shoppers during a food supply scare. It dominates every broadcast, and it pushes people into fear-driven behavior.
So here's where we stand. The beast system is no longer a theory. It's on the verge of being rolled out. Electronic tattoos, ingestible devices, digital IDs tied to every aspect of your life. Total control hidden behind a mask of convenience. But remember this, they only succeed if we comply. They only win if we stay silent. Every time you say no, every time you refuse to bow to their digital chains, you keep the flame of freedom alive. At TBV, we've stood shoulder to shoulder with you in exposing the lies, and together we'll face the storm that's coming. Stay awake, stay strong, and never stop fighting for your sovereignty. Because the line in the sand has been drawn. The question is, will you step across it, or will you stand your ground? Here at the People's Voice, we're determined to continue exposing the crimes of the elite, but we need your help.